What's going on, everybody on YouTube? We're back in the shop, and I'm standing in front of Blueberry because it's time to yank the heart out of this thing and diagnose and rehabilitate this broken eagle.
Wait, is there something wrong with the engine?
There is something. It's got a couple holes that don't really belong there,
Just
but
like a small miss, right?
a small miss, really. I mean, I could probably start it back up if I needed to clean out the injectors and pump gas, but I really have not actually touched this car since I pulled the oil pan off of it. It's basically 100% complete in there still. I just gotta get this thing out of here. We'll tear it down, and I'll give you guys a look at exactly what happened to make this thing kick 2 rods out of it. And it's already drawn blood on me, and I haven't even started yet, so we're off to a great start. I can't believe we're driving this thing. You gotta stop for the things that are important, like eating some pizza, so that way you're not in a calorie deficit while I'm pulling out the engine in my car. Gotta stop and eat, people. All right, guys, we are ready to pull this engine out. Now, I've got my bell housing bolts out. Getting the converter bolts out, really, it wasn't that big a deal. I thought that, normally when engines kick the rods out and they're locked up, you're gonna have a heck of a time trying to get those converter bolts out, but we were actually able to spin it, back and forth both ways so that we could get all the converter bolts out relatively easily. So I was happy about that. And how many hours do we have into this so far, Nate?
2.
Two.
That.
Yeah, so 2 hours pull the engine out. It's pretty good. I've done it a handful of times, unfortunately, because this is not my first rodeo blowing engines up. So this is I've got some experience, some practice. Let's get this thing out of here and let's start the teardown. All right, now we get to figure out the tensile strength of everything that we left connected on this engine. So give it one good once over, make sure there's no wires hanging.
I don't know if you heard, he's leaving the pan down below because it doesn't fit. It's the K-member.
Keep going. All right, stop.
We're good.
We're good. Bring the forklift. Oh, we're one hand short. Alex isn't here yet. Nate's holding the camera.
What are we gonna do?
Keep it going. You're clear. And keep going up. All right, bring it back. About an inch, 2 inches. A little bit more. That's good. All right, go ahead. Bring it all the way up. Get it clear of the car. We good? No, forgot something. The alternator cable. Wah, wah. Right now, there's somebody out there that's watching me do this, and they're getting ready to type in the comments, you can't do that, you can't take those off with an impact. Oh, I just did. I'm gonna replace these ARP bolts anyways, so.
Whoa.
It's on.
It's on.
Once again, it's on. Well, I'm standing right where my engine used to be because we pushed it over there for disassembly. But we're running out of time for today because we're going to go watch the last round of Formula Drift and go watch our boy Adam LZ tear it freaking up. Hopefully he can get second place. I think him and Matt Field are tied in points, aren't they?
They're
So-
right there.
We got our boy Alex is going to come over here. We're going to go watch FD. And I'll see you guys later when we get to tear that thing down. And maybe I may just be back on camera with a mustache. I've been growing my beard out because I wanted to see what a beard would look like on me, like a full one. But I'm losing patience, and I really am feeling the mustache urge again.
He's really trying to look like camera guy Nate.
I'm just trying to look like you, man. I'm your number one fan. So,
Thanks, Kyle.
all right, let's get to it. All right, guys, now that we've got our engine in the teardown area, it's a very sad sight to see. I mean, it's just a literal metallic blender down there. Just shattered parts and pieces. One completely flat rod bearing. That's kind of interesting. You don't usually see rod bearings look like that. So lots and lots of damage to go over. And we're in the meat and potatoes of tearing this engine down. So let's go ahead and get all these accessories off. We'll get the front motor plate off, intake manifold, valve covers, headers, all that stuff can go in that box because that's going to go to my house while we're waiting on a block and heads, which I'm working on something super special. Not sure what I can and can't talk about right now, so I'm not going to say anything, but just know that I do have a solution for a new block, and we're going to be building something even crazier than what this engine is. Still 8.2 deck. I'm not going with the tall deck. I know a lot of people were telling me, Kyle, you should go to a 9.5 deck. I'm telling you, 8.2 is the way to do. Does that work? I mean,
It works. Yeah.
maybe somebody should put that on a t-shirt. Speaking of, I do have blueberry t-shirts that are going to be coming out very soon, so look forward to those. But for right now, let's get into this engine. All right, we've got our cylinder heads off of it, and stator support is not looking good. If you come over to this side,
This side's not looking good either.
that side, no, that
Well,
side looks, this is the good side. This is the one where, to my recollection, I didn't put that piston in there upside down, so it turned upside down somehow.
Well, it looks like you put this one on a little bit of an angle.
Oh, I knew it. I knew when I was putting this thing together, I thought something was wrong. Well, that's because we can turn it over.
Oh, yeah, some pieces falling.
There's all kinds. Oh, dude, there's so much crap up in the intake. No, water's anything out of them. That is why, right there. So now we can actually get a more decent look at. Look at how that rod is bent around in there, just twisted like a freaking pretzel.
Probably not reusable.
Not reusable. This crankshaft is definitely toast. There was maybe a sliver of hope that we could potentially use this crankshaft in a like low horsepower build if I was able to grind it, but I don't think that that's fixable. And I wasn't able to see this side of the crankshaft when we were just looking at it. But yeah, that's pretty bad. So we're gonna continue tearing this thing apart. I'm gonna attempt to get the pistons and rods out of it, get my stuck lifter out of it. Our Innovators West package up front here with the belt drive and the balancer is holding up beautifully. So definitely going to be reusing those parts on the next engine that we're going to build, which is going to be even more wicked than what this is. So I'm super excited to get started on this new engine. Don't have a ton of parts for it yet, but look forward to some future videos on exactly what we're going to be doing with this, because this is going to be one of the baddest 8.2 deck small block Fords there is, period. So what are you saying?
Say it. Bad mother trucker.
It's gonna be a bad mother trucker, according to my dad, in his words. So yeah, let's get these pistons and rods out. Let's see what else is wrong with this thing. You good?
Yeah,
Okay, you're rolling.
I might leave that in.
Okay. All right, we have got our engine 100% disassembled now. We can actually see exactly why this thing continued to just dump water into the oil pan. And so keep in mind, the hole in the pan is up here, right? It's way up here. It's still got this whole sump down there that's normally full of oil. But when we had kicked the rod out of this at the track, it just continued to pour out of there. And we don't have, 10 gallons of oil in this engine. It's a 7 or 8 quart system. That's because it dumped all of the water from the engine also into the pan via this big old hole knocked into it by the connecting rod right there. So you can shine a light on the other side there. And that is straight coolant passage. That's the reason why I dumped all the water into the oil pan and then subsequently onto the track. I did not get the camshaft out, and I didn't get those 2 lifters out because they are pretty darn well stuck in there. And I'm not even sure if it's worth doing because I think that the cam's probably going to be junk. At least that lifter set's probably going to be junk as well. But maybe I can salvage it, I'm not sure. For now, though, we're just going to leave them in there. Bearings, main bearings you can see right here, really look pretty darn good all the way around. Until we get to this one right here, which is the journal that feeds this rod journal for the 2 rods that kicked out. That one is junk. And we can confirm that by the 2 missing rods that were there. And then we can look at our not bad rods. Look at this rod bearing. I would reuse this rod bearing in an engine. Like if I was building another one of these, which I am, I would reuse these. Like that's how good these bearings are. Obviously, I'm not going to do that, but just for hearsay, these are really good looking rod bearings. Pistons look amazing. No signs of scuffing. Our line-to-line coating is holding in there just fine. Rings look amazing. Hardly any wear on them, really. What else is there, Nate? What else is there to talk about?
I mean, that poses the question: is why?
Why? Let me tell you why, Sonny. So let's take a bearing out from here. This is one of the rod bearings. It doesn't really look like a rod bearing anymore because it's been completely flattened, but you can see because of the color and everything that's going on with this rod bearing that this was a bearing issue, more than likely, almost positively, which is linked to our oil pressure issue that we were having. So I had fixed it, but I think at that point it was just too late. It had already gotten these 2 rod bearings and just continued to drive it because it seemed normal and it wasn't knocking. I had checked the front bearing and the rear bearing, and those looked fine, so I had no reason to suspect that this was going on in the engine. If this was a connecting rod problem, like, I don't know, like the rod bolt broke or stretched out or the rod just physically broke, you wouldn't see this color on here. What you would see is you would see the bearing obviously would be messed up and flattened out and whatever, but it would not have this color on it. This color only happens from heat. So this bearing got really hot and then decided to let go. So there was nothing wrong with the rods. In fact, I'm gonna put boost line rods in the next engine because I know that they're a good rod and I've ran them well over 2,000 horsepower in an LS application. This being 8.2 deck Ford, we know that the rod is shorter. It being shorter, technically it makes it stronger. You could argue that it doesn't, but in my opinion, it does make it stronger being a little bit shorter because of the rod angle and some other things going on, but not a connecting rod issue. This was an oil pressure issue that caused this. And we can tell that because of the color of the bearing. In fact, I actually just had another customer of ours that had kicked the rods out of his engine the weekend after I did mine, Scott Oshinsky. He brought his broken stuff in here and showed it to me. And his is a perfect example of what happens when a rod physically breaks. It doesn't have an oil pressure issue. It has a rod issue. So Scott actually physically broke his rods, and his bearings don't look like this. They're completely messed up and flattened out and whatever, just like this one. But the actual bearing surface looked still brand new. That's kind of what you'll see in an engine when the rod actually breaks and it's not really an oil pressure or rod bearing issue or clearance issue. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at on this. That's exactly why this happened. And unfortunately, it happened in such a catastrophic way where, we've got rods getting lodged up into the block, up by the camshaft, which I mean, that's never good. At least when they shoot out the bottom, they have somewhere to go because they can go through the oil pan. When they go up, they don't have anywhere to go. They just destroy the block, which is what happened here.
This would make a good coffee table.
This would make a good coffee table. I might think about doing that. We'll see. Yeah, I really have no idea, man. Well, like I said, in racing, sometimes things just happen, and that's one of them. Honestly, I don't feel like this engine owes me any money at all. I beat the ever-living crap out of this thing for a long time without changing rod bearings, without changing pistons, rings, rods, bearings, you name it. I mean, realistically, the only thing that I've done to this engine after changing to boost line rods and piston changes was just gaskets and seals, just doing health check stuff. Because this engine really, up until this point, has not had any real issues. So can't say it owes me any money for sure.
What the real issue is you tried to slow it down, and it was
That's
just
what
like
the issue is. It doesn't
no.
want to go slow. It wants to go fast. It wants to go 790s, not 860s. So I guess we learned our lesson there too. Don't go index racing. Just go heads up. You can't index race because your stuff will break.
Proven
That's
out.
That's
right
just,
here.
That's factual. That's what happened. So argue with me in the comments about it. As far as top end parts, we've got our trick flow cylinder heads right here. Those are holding in great. Our gaskets look amazing. Really no complaints there at all, which in the original days when I was running an MLS gasket and I wasn't running our SMX stainless hoops, I was always having head gasket issues with this engine. So I'm happy to report that no head gasket issues are going on. The heads look amazing. Really no damage there other than I've got a couple or a few bent valves. So I've actually taken 2 of them out already, but you can see obviously this one's junk. This one's probably junk, but the rest of them are still salvageable. So we'll save these heads. We'll probably put them on Cherry, if I had to guess. I do have a lot of small block Ford heads taking up room in my garage though, so we'll see what we end up doing with them. Other notable things that went on. Because that rod lodged itself up into the camshaft and stopped the cam, it did actually strip out my belt, but the Innovators West belt drive, man, they're stout. This is what happened to my timing belt. Stripped all those teeth out, and that's why we were actually able to spin this engine over. When you saw when me and Nate were taking the engine out, that actually Nate was spinning it over for me while I was taking the convertibles out, but the camshaft was not spinning. That's because it did this. So 1 junk belt, but everything else in the belt drive is completely fine, reusable. Definitely going to be some parts they bring over onto the new engine. Nothing to report there really, other than a junk belt. So that pretty much does it for today's video, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and
Stay tuned for
what we end up doing, because it's going to be something super cool. We're going to build a super Billy bad boy, bad mother trucker 8.2 deck small block Ford for Blueberry. Like I said earlier, look out for the Blueberry t-shirts. Those will be coming out very soon, so we're going to do a launch on those. I'm Kyle. Thanks for watching the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.